Welcome to Talking Real Estate, your Champions Real Estate team at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate Company. My name is Mark Wehner, the second team leader here at Champions Real Estate team. And joining me today, as always, is Russ Williams with Williams Mortgage. So we'll get on every Wednesday. This is a little bit later in the afternoon today. Usually I do lunch hour, but we have both got things going on, busy people. So, yeah, we love jumping on with everybody here. So let's get into our graphics and see what the market's done over the last week. So as this pulls up for everybody, so we had 377 new listings go live in the last week. That's down from about 465 from the previous week. New contracts, so basically contracts written over the last 7 days is at 383. That's up about, what do we have? 353, so about 30. So we were down in about almost 100 listings going live, but we were up in contracts written. And happy homeowners this week is 275. So obviously, as we see those numbers, we had more contracts written, less houses go on the market. So that's just telling me the buyer activity is picking up. We saw interest rates a little bit more favorable than they have been a little bit down, and Russ will get more into that as we move on here. But let's jump into the 30,000 foot view. Pull up here in the second. So in the Omaha and Lincoln multiple listing service, we have 1,922 homes for your viewing pleasure out there. So, but that's down just a little bit from the week previous. I'll give you a little perspective. When I got my license 15 years ago, we had about 5,500 homes on the market in the Omaha MLS. Now we're combined with Omaha and Lincoln MLS. So when we look, obviously that's way down from 15 years ago. So as we look here and we narrow that down in the Douglas and Sarpy County area, we have 1,144 homes. And then existing homes out of that 1,144 is 324 existing homes on the market today, this morning, as of about 9:30, 10 o'clock for your viewing pleasure in that regards. And then new construction, 820. Months of inventory is 1.9. Our average sold price dropped a little bit to 316, was up at 319 last week. I think the big number here is this kind of 324. So we don't have that many existing homes on the market out there, but the market's still very active. As you can see in that first graphic that we had 380 some pending contracts, and we only had 377 new listings going live. So I think as we get into, we got Easter weekend coming up here, we're going to see more homes come on, obviously in the spring. Weather's getting nicer, all that kind of fun stuff. So speaking of Easter weekend, we do have our Easter egg hunt this Saturday, April 1st at 1 o'clock at Walnut Grove Park. So it's open to the public. I just got done stuffing about 2,500 Easter eggs, so had some fun with that. And goodie bags, so while they last, we'll have those there. So 1 o'clock, a hunt will probably be about 1:15 or so. So we try to give people enough time to get there, because literally once they are gone, they are gone. It's basically kind of how the buyer's market is, or the buyers are in this market. I mean, something jumps on and everybody goes. So it'll be kind of crazy. And it's kind of fun to watch all the, I think we had about 200 or so kids there last year. We've kind of grown each year, I think, just kind of word of mouth and stuff like that. So, but it's kind of funny to see how these kids just gobble them up literally in regards to that. So we'll have special Easter baskets or eggs that have coins in them that have special Easter baskets, giveaways and stuff like that. So it's a great time, but let's jump in here with Russ and see what we're talking about on the mortgage industry side of it. So how are we doing, Russ?
We're not doing too bad. Mortgage rates have kind of hovered in the same range. We've had some minor fluctuations upward and downwards, and the primary reason for that is instability. We all know that a couple of weeks ago, Silicon Valley Bank and a couple of other banks had some troubles, and so that instability actually was good for mortgage rates, and we saw those improve. We also saw the possibility of some bailouts of some banks, both Deutsche Bank in Europe, as well as a couple of other banks, and that reassurance has actually caused rates to deteriorate a little bit. So they've been up and down a little bit, but the Fed did meet, and as expected, they raised short-term rates, and we saw really no movement in mortgage rates. The market was really already expecting that. But next week, we have some pretty big news coming out with the Personal Consumption Expenditures Report, which is the Fed's favorite measure of inflation. And assuming that comes in at or below expectations, which is where we're hoping and expecting that it will come in, we are seeing inflation pressure go down, and that will be very favorable for mortgage rates. In fact, the way they do some of their calculations later in the year here, we're expecting mortgage rates to continue moving downwards. And markets, as we've said all along here, As mortgage rates come down, that increases buying power and borrowing power, and that generally means more demand, which puts upward pressure on home prices. So we saw just this morning that nationwide that the last month was 0.8 of an increase in home values across the country. We're not seeing home values go down. So for those of you thinking home prices are going down, it's not likely. We just have so much demand out there.
Yeah.
And having said that, you've got to have a good game plan. That's why you've got to talk with Mark and his team.
Yeah, I know. I talked with an agent that the listing that I have pending right now. Talked with her. Her house went pending or listed just about a week or so after ours. And her and I were talking, and she had an offer that was like $15,000 less than listing price. And she talked to the agent, which is like, "Hey, is there an escalation? Is there things that are going to bump?" And she's like, "No, that's that buyer was under the impression that the market was going down, and that agent had 40 showings that day, the day it went on live." And I don't, there's no. I mean, you can read the press clippings on what people are kind of, I know I posted something on our Facebook marketplace, and, the comments that some people just kind of throw out there, just, I think, kind of ruffle feathers. But, why are you buying a house now? The market's going to crash. We can't predict the future ultimately, but just looking at the activity that we have right now and supply and demand and just numbers and census data and data of number of houses that have been built and haven't been built and should have been built over the last decade or so. Just basically when the bank shut off the spigot to the funding of developments and new construction. But our population was getting more births per year than the previous year since I think it was in 1995, I believe. And so those people now are entering that home buying years of their lives, and we don't have the houses just nationally. So that's kind of where we're at on that side of it. But yeah, so I mean, it's a great time to, get in the market, and obviously, like you said, have a game plan. That's kind of my mental background is, having coached hockey for 15 years. I'm huge into the coaching aspect of it, and having a game plan, knowing the scouting report of a buyer or a seller, whatever team you're on. I just coached a 3-hour multiple offer class as a CE class, just got done with it at 4:00 or so, teaching other agents about multiple offers. So that's, what we do is get a game plan. How are we going to formulate an offer to get you a seat at the table? Winning the offer is great, but ultimately getting you a seat at the table, because we don't want you to overpay for a house, but you at least get a chance to say yes or no, rather than us getting the nice cordial text message of, "Hey, appreciate your offer. Good luck in the future, but our sellers went with another offer." But how can we say, would your client accept this? And then we go back to our clients and say, good idea, bad idea, and we get, go over and discuss that with you. But at least you get an opportunity to say, "No, it's a little too hour. Hey, yeah, that's great. I like it. Let's sign the contract." From a seller's perspective, how do we position yourself to get to that point where we can select the best offer and make somebody's day, and ultimately try to be as cordial as possible to those people that didn't get it and help them. And that's what we talked about in our multiple offer class with other agents. So, but yeah, happy to help. Appreciate everyone listening to us today. Russ, appreciate you jumping on. And yeah, if you can join us, if you watch this at a later date, but April 1st, Saturday, 1:00 at Walnut Grove Park, kind of right by Millard, just across the street from Millard South, a little couple blocks west of Millard South High School, at the main pavilion there. So we have basically 2 groups, 5 and under, and 6 and up, as far as going out, and big space, open space. There's a park there, obviously, so after the Easter egg hunt, if you want to stick around, and hang out and do all that kind of fun stuff with the kiddos, make kind of a little afternoon of it. It's supposed to be, I think, 50 some degrees, almost 60 degrees. So hopefully the weather's a little nicer and not as windy. So, but appreciate everyone listening to us. Yeah, like, subscribe. If there's anything you want us to chat about, we'll talk about, I think next week we were touched on beforehand, but we don't make it go too long, but we'll touch on different types of financing versus the conventionals versus the government, financing, and kind of what the pros and cons are of both of those, putting more money in your house piggy bank versus, Uncle Sam's and stuff like that. And there's obviously pros and cons to each one of those. I think that's very important to understand, just because the offers that I'm seeing on the listing side coming in, how can we position you? And even just talking to other agents of, do they understand, trying to help them with their agent or their clients in a better position. But we're always here to help, whether it's the other team or our team, just make sure that people are taken care of out there in the real estate world. But appreciate you, Russ, and thanks everyone for joining us, and we will catch everybody next week. And yeah, take care. Bye-bye.